2023. The chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock. The House will adopt the second report on the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on the inquiry into the maize flour subsidy program for the financial year 2022-2023. The question is set to be put this afternoon. Just after that, the members of Parliament are expected to resume and go to the Committee of the Whole House, where the Kenya Drugs Authority Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2022, by the chairpersons of the Health Committee, Dr. Robert Pukose, and the Member of Parliament for Endebess. The principal objective and the reasons of this bill is the regulations of medicines, pharmaceuticals practice, the drugs, scheduled substances, medical devices, and related substances has been in fragmented legislation. And in keeping with the international best practices and guidance from the World Health Organization, the aim of the proposed National Health Products Regulatory System is to safeguard the health of the public by ensuring the quality, safety, effectiveness, and efficiency of medicines and related health products based on principles of sound science, evidence, and transparency. These debates will resume from Clause 55. This requires an institutional framework with a clear legal mandate and the requisite expertise and independence in decision-making. It is for these main reasons that the Kenya Drugs Authority Bill is proposed. The proposed authority will be established within the national government, its functions being a critical and integral part of the health policy as set out in the fourth schedule to the Constitution. The bill establishes the Kenya Drugs Authority as a corporate body capable of suing and being sued, taking, purchasing, acquiring, holding or disposal of movable or removable property, and doing or performing all such other things or acts of proper discharge of its functions under the Act, which may be lawfully done by a body or corporate. On Clause 6 to 7, the bill establishes the Office of the Director General of the Authority, and the clause further establishes the qualifications for the appointment as Director General of the Authority, as well as the function of the Director General. The bill also establishes the management of the authority, stipulates who sits on the board of the authority, and states who shall qualify to be on board of the management. The bill does not contain any provisions limiting any fundamental rights or freedoms. And this bill affects the functions of county governments as set out in the fourth schedule to the Constitution. And therefore, this bill, the Kenya Drugs Authority Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 54 of 2022, is a bill concerning the counties. The enactment of this bill shall occasionally additional of expenditure of public funds. And the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Gladys Bost, has walked into today's session. And I now hand over you to the plenary. My name is Angela Cheror, and this is the Parliamentary Broadcast Unit in collaboration with KBC. Stay tuned.
Honourable members, let us pray Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the officers of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. I direct that the quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes.
And the House, having lacked the requisite number for the commencement of the House, pursuant to Standing Order 34, a bell has been rung for 10 minutes to allow members of Parliament to come for the session to begin. And also, we have a bill on the Statute Law, Miscellaneous Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Bill number 67 of 2023, by the leader of the majority party, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. The Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill 2022 is seeking to make various amendments to various statutes. It is in keeping with the practice of making various amendments which do not merit the publication of separate bills into one bill. The bill contains proposed amendments to amend the Children's Act 2022 to remove the provision which prohibits the court from granting a sole male applicant adoption of the child. That is on the Children's Act 2022, number 29 of 2022. The bill also proposes to amend the Copyright Act 2001 to make provisions for the equitable remuneration of performers and producers of social and sound recordings, and expand the responsibilities of collective management organization towards the authors and performers. It also proposes to bring collective management organization under regulation by the board in order to enhance efficiency. That is the Copyright Act 2001, number 12 of 2001. The bill also proposes to amend the Scrap Metal Act to provide for a special license for dealing in copper, aluminium, and other alloys. It is intended to protect critical infrastructure, for instance, transformers. The bill further proposes to restrict the disposal of scrap metal from critical infrastructure to two national entities, namely the Numerical Machining Complex and the Kenya Shipyard Limited. The Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development also proposed the regulations of imports in addition to exports, as well as the enhancements of several penalties in the Act to deter vandalism and other prohibited acts. That is the Scrap Metal Act 2015, number 1 of 2015. Also, it seeks to amend the National Employment Authority Act 2016, that is number 3, to amend the National Employment Act to cure inconsistencies in the Act and align it with the National Employment Authority Human Resource Policy and Procedures Manual. It also seeks to amend the Fisheries Management and Development Act 2016, that is number 35, to provide that the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters relating to fisheries shall be the chairperson of the Fisheries Advisory Council. It also seeks to amend the Energy Act of 2019, that is number 1, to give the effect to the recommendation of the Presidential Task Force on the review of the power purchase agreements, that is addressing the overlap in the functions between the Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority and that of the Ministry of Energy, including the Kenya Power and Lighting Company in the membership of the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporations establishment under the Act. And also winding up with the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency and transferring its functions to the ministry. And pursuant to Standing Order 34, the quorum has been achieved, and I hand over you.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, June 5th, 2024. Report of the Auditor General and financial statement for the year ended 30th June 2023 and the certificate therein in respect of.
You've late.
Honorable Speaker, number 1 is Chester Teachers Training College. Number 2 is Kenya Fishing Industries Corporation. Number 3 is Coast Water Works Development Agency. Number 4 is Earth Water Works Development Agency. Number 5 is Kitale National Polytechnic. Number 6 is National Defense University Kenya. Number 7 is Kenya Ordnance Factories Corporation. Number 8 is Kenyatta International Convention Center. Number 9 is Western Kenya Rice Mills Limited. Number 10 is Child Welfare Society of Kenya. Number 11 is Insurance Regulatory Authority. Number 12 is Koitalel Samoei University College. Number 13 is Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. Number 14 is Taita Taveta University. 15 is Kirinyaga University. 16 is National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority. And number 17 is National Irrigation Authority. I beg to lay.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Honorable Mutunga, you had a statement. Honorable Mutunga, you had a statement on the passing of the former member from Nyambene South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to make a statement on the demise of the former member of Parliament for Nyambene South constituency, Honorable Kenan Martin Kaunyangi Dimango. Honorable Speaker, Mr. Dimango, the late Honorable Dimango was born in Tigania West Sub-County in Meru County in 1934. He attended Alliance High School in 1951 to 54, and thereafter joined Makerere University, where he earned a diploma in agriculture, becoming one of the first Meru County early academic achievers. The Honorable Dimango began his career as a field agricultural officer and later ventured into entomology research before joining politics. Honorable Speaker, the late Honorable Dimango vying for the Nyambene South parliamentary seat in 1966 following a by-election and was elected to represent the constituency. He served his term diligently and was an active member of the Kenya African National Union Party. He was dedicated to improving access to education in his area, where together with his spouse, he built schools and financially supported needy children in their education. The late Honorable Dimango was a staunch Roman Catholic and a respected elder of Antwama Kia clan who guided and mentored young leaders. His embodiment of integrity and legacy on contribution to education, environmental conservation, and economic development live on. Honorable Speaker, on my own behalf and on behalf of the Tigania West constituency, I wish to take this opportunity to condole with the family of the late Honorable Kenan Martin Kaunyangi Dimango, his relatives, friends, and the people of Kenya at large. May his soul rest in eternal peace. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The next statement is another statement. Is there any other statement? Or should we move to the next order? Okay, Chair, Internal Security. Did you have a response for today?
Thank you.
Or are you being confused by Honorable
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm just a little bit obstructed by the kingpin, but not original. No, it's a fake one. Madam Speaker, I've got 3 statements to make. So we kindly maybe a week to respond to. A week. Okay, thanks.
All of them. Okay. As long as he's aware. Okay, Honorable Chair for Internal Security, I'm told that there are 3 of them. So with the responses in a week before all 3? The responses are for all 3 in 1 week's time. Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've got 3 statements to respond to. Namely one by Honorable MP for Mwingi Central, who I think is in the House. Another one is by my good friend MP for Kirinyaga County, and another one for MP for Ijara. And I want to start with one by Honorable Kirinyaga County. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Kirinyaga County, Honorable Jane Maina, had sought for a statement regarding the arrest of Alfred Ribai Choba for the defilement of a minor, Penina Wamboi in Kirinyaga West Sub-County in Kirinyaga County. And the Honorable Member sought the following: the measures that the ministry had put in place to ensure that Ms. Penina and her sister get justice, the reason that led to the release of Mr. Alfred Choba, the accused, on a cash bail, the measures that the government has put in place to ensure the safety of school-going children in Kirinyaga and the country at large. And I state as follows. Honorable Speaker, on 20th February 2024 at around 11 a.m., Mr. Esther Wangeshi Wanjira reported at Bericho Police Station via OBIN number 17200224 that our sister Penina, aged 13 years, was missing. Both are residents of Kiburu Trading Center in Kirinyaga Sub-County, and she reported that the juvenile had left home on 16th at around 2 p.m. to undisclosed destination. She further disclosed that the juvenile was 4 months expectant. It was further alleged that the area chief, Mr. Alfred Choba Ribai, had been defiling Penina. The suspect was arrested on 22nd and escorted to Bericho Police Station. He was, however, freed on a police cash bail of 30,000 pending search and recovery of the missing juvenile and the completion of investigation. The minor later resurfaced, and upon completion of the investigation, the police case file was forwarded to the Office of ODPP, Kirinyaga County, for perusal and advice. It was recommended that Alfred be charged with the offense of defilement contrary to Section 8.1 and as read together with Section 8.4 of the Sexual Offense Act. On 13th, Madam Speaker, the accused was arraigned before Kilgoya Chief Magistrate Law Courts and for plea taking. However, he furnished the court with a High Court petition order that temporarily halted his prosecution at the law courts pending hearing and determination of his constitutional petition at the same court. Honorable Speaker, Alfred was also arraigned before Principal Magistrate Court at Baricho Law Courts for another offense of assault. He pleaded not guilty to the charge and was released on court cash bail of 50,000, with this case set for hearing on 14 September this year. Honorable Speaker, as earlier stated, the suspect was arrested on 22nd February at around midday and escorted to Baricho Police Station. He was, however, freed on a police cash bail, as earlier stated. The release was in tandem with this constitutional right of being arraigned before court of law within 24 hours of arrest. The Constitution of Kenya, Article 49, 1H, secures the right of an arrested person that he may be released on bond or cash bail on reasonable condition pending a charge or trial unless there are compelling reason not to release. At the time of freeing the suspect, there was no evidence that indeed he defiled the minor, except for allegation leveled against him. Thus, it was much informed that he be released. Further investigation has been concluded, and the whereabouts of the complainant, that is Penina, was unknown as at then. Honorable Speaker, the National Police Service is mandated for maintenance of law and order, ensuring the safety of each and every person, including the school-going children in this regard. All cases involving children have been taken seriously, well investigated, and culprits arraigned before courts and convictions realized. In the best interest of the child principle, the service reiterates its commitment of ensuring all cases of defilement reported to the police stations are thoroughly investigated and suspect presented in court for subsequent punishment. The service has established child protection unit or officers within the police stations to encourage reporting of cases of defilement to the police and in private, dignified manner. The service has also provided anonymous reporting lines, including Vichua kwa DCI X Twitter handle and other toll-free phone lines like 07800 7222203 to encourage reporting of sexual offenses, especially those involving children to the police. Through community policing platforms, police continue to sensitize members of the public about measures necessary for the protection of children. Lastly, Madam Speaker, having taken plea on account of assaults, an administrative action has already been taken against the suspect, being placed on interdiction pending the conclusion of the matter. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. That's all? Okay. Next order. Are you done?
Two, but I thought you wanted to let the MP probably.
No, I think
later.
Yes.
So I continue with the rest?
You continue with the rest, please.
Well guided. Yeah, I'm trying to.
We also have a timeline for the budget.
We have another speaker here.
Right.
Here. This is for the member of a statement being sought by the member of Mwingi Central, Honorable Gideon Muyungi, on the case of the death of Benjamin Mwaniki Kadhegu. Honorable Speaker, I want to state as follows. On 9th January, at around 11 a.m., Peter Kanyite Kaliko reported at Hola Police Station that Benjamin Mwaniki Kadhegu was missing after the latter failed to pick his wife called since the day before. Subsequently, police officers from DCI, Hola Police Station, went to his house on the same day and found it locked from inside, which forced them to break it. Unfortunately, he was found laying down dead on the bed with no visible injuries. The scene was processed and sample of blood and mucus collected, and a suicide note was also recovered. The body was removed to Hola Hospital mortuary for preservation. However, on January 10th, the body was removed to Mwingi Level 4 since the Hola had got no pathologist. The postmortem was concluded and the status of death established as a result from head injury caused by a blunt object or fall and suspected lung disease due to history of smoking. On 23rd same month, Ibrahim Salat Omar, an assistant manager at the Hela petrol station where the deceased was working, provided non-handwriting of a deceased, which was compared with a suicide note. The forensic document examiner from DCI headquarters was of the opinion the handwritings were authored by the same person. Investigations are ongoing as police await report from the government chemist indicating whether or not the blood and mucus sample collected contain any poisonous substance capable of causing death, and the cybercrime analyst report on any forensic evidence that might be available on the deceased mobile phone. And 17 witnesses has been recorded statement, but no arrest has been done. Honorable Speaker, the last one, I don't know whether the member for Ijara is in the House. Honorable Speaker.
He's not in the House. So
no, he's there. He's there. I need protection, Madam Speaker. You have got a problematic assistant speaker. I don't know this. He has been a co-speaker. Madam Speaker, that statement was sought by the MP for Ijara constituency, who is confirmed to be in the House, on the mysterious death and disappearance of Mr. Jabil Abdullahi Farah and Mr. Harold Ali Khalif. Honorable Speaker, Mr. Yusuf Abdi Siget reported the disappearance of Mr. Jabil Abdullahi Farah at Ngara Police Station on 14th February at around 2 p.m. He reported that Mr. Muhammad Hamid Khalif requested him to accompany him to Ngara area to purchase a motor vehicle on 14th February. Mr. Khalif was on board a motor vehicle registration KDE 617G, a Toyota Make, silver in color, while in the company of Mr. Farah. They drove along Quarry Road of Ngara Equity roundabout. However, they were blocked by a Prado motor vehicle black in color, whose number plate they did not capture. Two armed men alighted from the Prado and abducted Muhammad Halif and Jabir, while the reportee escaped. Investigation was launched immediately. However, the CCTV footage from the neighboring shop and the National Police Service Integrated Command, Control and Communication Center, that is IC3, did not capture the incident. Their mobile phones were subjected to forensic analysis, but did not yield any evidence either. On 19th, Madam Speaker, Mohamed Halif presented himself to DCI Central and stated that he was driven back to Isli on the previous night after being held in a place he does not know, and that he had left Jabir Farah with the abductors. He further stated that Jabir is a refugee from Dagahele refugee camp, and they had traveled together to Nairobi on 11th February. Honorable Speaker, the disappearance of Mr. Halif was reported at Haluga Police Station on 18th, and it was reported that on 18th at around 1 p.m., 3 armed men entered Hajid Homestead and at Halugo Village at sub-county in Garissa County and forcefully abducted him. The abductee unsuccessfully persuaded the armed men not to abduct him. They drove away in an unidentified Prado and crossed the Kenya border to Kenya-Somalia border. Honorable Speaker, after the report of the 2 missing persons were made, the police circulated signals of missing person within the Republic of Kenya, putting all the stations on lookout in case the persons, as per the circulated details, are found within their areas of jurisdiction. Investigation into the whereabouts of the missing persons are still ongoing. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Submit.
I think now you've completed all your statements, right? Okay. I'd like to welcome the following schools. May I have the list? I'd like to recognize the presence of the following schools: Njenge Boys High School from Kirinyaga Central Constituency, Kirinyaga County, and also GSU Primary School, Kimbo, from Juja Constituency, Kiambu County. And I think there was supposed to be a school from Honorable Mulyungi's constituency, but I can't see it here. We'll welcome them later. Thank you. Okay, let's proceed to the next order. Honorable members will proceed to the next. You will get an opportunity, Honorable Mulyungi. When you get an opportunity, you'll get an opportunity. Yes. Let's proceed to the next order.
Order number 8, motion. The mediated version of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024. Question to be put.
Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Article 113(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order 153, this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024, laid at the table of this House on Tuesday, 4th June 2024, and approves the mediated version of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Maize flour subsidy program for the financial year 2022-2023. Question to be put.
Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopts the second report of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on the inquiry into the maize flour subsidy program for the financial year 2022-2023, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, 27th February 2024. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 10, motion. Consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025. General debate, first allotted day.
Proceed, Chairperson, to Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates for revenue and expenditure in the medium term for the financial year 2024 to 2025, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 5th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221
Put off the other mics. I think they went on. I think the microphones are malfunctioning today. You can move to the other. Oh, yes, you've got the mic now. What is your point of order, Honorable T.J. Kajwang? He has not even begun.
About, Madam Chair, you know, he is the finance minister. Traditionally, the finance minister should move it from the table. Can he be given a microphone so that Kenyans can see him right from the table? That is the Commonwealth experience. Yeah. When he's behind there, he looks like every of us, and we are, you know, we are small. We are very small people. He should come right here on the table and move there.
Okay. Madam Speaker, if the mic is there, I oblige to go there.
Okay. I don't think there'll be any harm in that happening. Is there a mic available? Let's confirm first if the mic is available.
So it seems the mic available
Looks
is
like
this
the
one.
mics are not, we've been having challenges today, so I think proceed from there. But in future, we'll take note of what you have said, Honorable Kajwang. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to move that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2024-2025, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 5th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239-1, approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,392,832,508,617 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2025 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3, that is Committee of Supply. 2, makes the policy and financial resolutions as contained in the second schedule to the order paper. And 3, orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, that is the consideration of estimates in the Committee of Supply. Madam Speaker, I wish to just say a few things so that I bring to speed members on where we are in terms of the budget is. And Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to thank this House because the Budget and Appropriations Committee always benefits from the interaction interactions with the members of this House. The budget gets richer, the budget makes more responsive to the Kenyan people when we listen to each and every member, and we always endeavor to do that as Budget and Appropriations Committee. I also wish to thank all the memberships of departmental committees, and especially led by the 20 departmental committee chairs, for being very integral in this process. And Honorable Speaker, at that point, I think I can move there to Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, and I would request that the person with the operator to add some little volume. I think that's fine. Honorable Speaker, I wish to make a few remarks in regards to this budget process, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I want to thank all the members of this that in the Parliament for being very integral. Every time we interact with the members of this House, we benefit greatly, Honorable Speaker, and we learn from them. Even on this order paper that is so huge, there are all the schedules. Most of those arrangements and rearrangements that have happened as contained in Schedule 2, majority of them have been carried by the departmental committees, Honorable Speaker, and especially through the appearances of the departmental chairs who came before the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Honorable Speaker, we are making this budget on a background. And the background that we have is the background of the year 2023, and I'll start the calendar year, Honorable Speaker. The year 2023 is the one we can measure whether the policies we make in this House, including this policy that we are making, which is the budget, Honorable Speaker, whether it is actually responding to the needs of our economy. And Honorable Speaker, in the calendar year 2023, the economy of Kenya grew by 5.6%, Honorable Speaker, a percentage which puts Kenya as around the 27th fastest growing economy in the world. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in that length, then it shows that the policies this House has been making, insofar as the management of our economy is concerned, Honorable Speaker, those policies are working. Honorable Speaker, in the month of April, Honorable Speaker, our inflation was at 5%. In the month of May, Honorable Speaker, our inflation was at 5.1%. Honorable Speaker, our target benchmark for inflation as a country is 5%, with a band of 2.5% either way. That is plus or minus. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in that respect, Kenya is actually at the benchmark of our own benchmark of inflation, because our inflation has been able to be contained, and especially because of the tools that we have been using in the year 2023. Honorable Speaker, our currency when we first went through this kind of a process, and especially in supplementary one, Honorable Speaker, our currency exchanging to the greenback was exchanging at around 180 shillings to $1. Honorable Speaker, since then, our local currency has gained 15% against the US dollar, and it has gained between 17 and 18%, Honorable Speaker, comparative to our regional currencies. Honorable Speaker, our currency has also gained against the sterling pound and against the euro. And Honorable Speaker, this just goes to show that the policies that we made a year ago, Honorable Speaker, those policies are working. Honorable Speaker, in the year 2023, our financial organs and structures have been working on several parameters for us to stabilize our GDP and grow at 5.6%, for us to have an inflation that is within the benchmark as a country, for us to have a local currency that is gaining. Honorable Speaker, we have had to use both monetary and fiscal tools. And Honorable Speaker, many times we have seen our interest rates going up. Honorable Speaker, that has been deliberate by the Central Bank of Kenya, because number one, we needed to tame inflation, and the monetary tool to do that is of raising the benchmark interest rate. Honorable Speaker, the same tool has been successful in preventing capital outflows, because when you raise interest rates, Honorable Speaker, and you are at par or higher than the other global partners, then, Honorable Speaker, you prevent capital outflows, and at the same time, you attract capital inflows. And therefore, the issue about interest rates, Honorable Speaker, has been deliberate insofar as containing inflation is concerned, and insofar as making our currency stronger is concerned, Honorable Speaker. But the most tool that has been very successful, Honorable Speaker, has been the fiscal policies. And the fiscal policies that we have had to employ are policies around production. Honorable Speaker, our country perpetually spends a lot of money in importing and especially food. And in that respect, Honorable Speaker, actually, our number 2 import as a country is actually edible oils. Kenya spends over 100 to 150 billion Kenya shillings every year in importation of edible oils. But the issue is not edible oil, Honorable Speaker. The issue is on foodstuffs. Honorable Speaker, a year ago we came before this House and requested that we appropriate money that will go into fertilizer subsidy. Honorable Speaker, I want to report to this House that that fiscal policy has worked. That after we gave subsidized fertilizer, Honorable Speaker, our maize production, which is our mainstay, which is our staple food, our maize production, Honorable Speaker, has been able to move in the year 2023 from an average of 14 million bags every year to the last season, Honorable Speaker, which we had a yield of 65 million bags, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, that just shows, Honorable Speaker, that what we do here in such an afternoon could have far-reaching effects even to the plates of the Kenyan people. Honorable Speaker, when we grow food and therefore we don't import, Honorable Speaker, what we do is what is called import substitution. And import substitution is one of the issues that you can invoke when you want to improve your balance of payment. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, again, I want to commend this House for always passing very responsive laws and policies, which we can clearly now see the results, that our economy GDP is high, our inflation is contained, and our local currency is gaining ground against the international currencies and also the regional currencies, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the current budget of the year 2024-2025 is a budget of, and I want to members to get this figure correctly, because it's changing slightly from what we passed on the budget policy statement. Honorable Speaker, during the time and the cycle of the budget policy statement, this House passed a figure of 4.18 trillion Kenya shillings to be our ceilings. Honorable Speaker, because we are a prudent government and also a prudent House, we have seen that there has been a mismatch between the money that we anticipate to raise on revenue, and also our expenditure. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, what we have done is to respond to exactly that. And therefore, we have scaled down our expenditure from the 1.18 trillion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker, to this budget figure, which is 4.006 trillion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the budget for this financial year is 4.006 trillion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker. That is also a climb upwards from the tabled estimates by the National Treasury, because we had to respond to other emerging issues, which I'll be enumerating in brief as I continue, Honorable Speaker. How we are expending this money is that around 2.39 trillion Kenya shillings, roughly 2.4 trillion, is going to the expenditure of national government, which also includes the judiciary and also Parliament, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on top of that, this country will be spending over 1.233 trillion Kenya shillings in consolidated fund services, Honorable Speaker, which we call CFS. And CFS, Honorable Speaker, over 1.08 trillion Kenya shillings will be going into the payment of interest rates for our financial obligations. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'm talking about these things because they have a ramification of a member who would want a water project or a roads project. Getting the full picture is important so that we also consider where our country is. Just for members to buttress that point, the budget is 4.006 trillion, out of which, Honorable Speaker, the national government expenditure is 2.39, approximately 2.4 trillion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, the money is going to consolidated fund services is over 1.233 trillion, and out of which over 1 trillion Kenya shillings is going into the payments of interest rates for both domestic and foreign financial obligations. The only sunshine in that, Honorable Speaker, is that over 750 billion will be going into paying domestic debt, Honorable Speaker, in terms of interest rates, and therefore this is money that could end up in the pockets of Kenyans. But the other item, Honorable Speaker, is the equitable share, which currently now starts at 400.1 billion Kenya shillings, which is also an upward trajectory, Honorable Speaker, because this House supports devolution. Honorable Speaker, there are a few areas I want to highlight. One, Honorable Speaker, is that we have been able to climb down on the deficit. The deficit for this financial year is roughly 606 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, if you check a year ago, this House was considering a deficit of close to 800 billion. Honorable Speaker, we have been able to come down in terms of deficit from the year 2023-2024, where we now have a deficit of 5.83% deficit to GDP ratio. We now have a deficit to GDP ratio of only 3.83%, Honorable Speaker, which is commendable. It shows that we are borrowing less because we also want to emancipate ourselves as a country from over-borrowing, Honorable Speaker. I want to highlight a few things, Honorable Speaker, which are of interest to the people of Kenya. One, the education sector continues to get the lion's share of the money we appropriate, Honorable Speaker. The proposal before this House is that we are recommending approximately 700 billion Kenya shillings that will be going into the education sector in the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, there is money for basic education. There is money for higher education. There is money for practical, for TVET and TTIs, Honorable Speaker. There is money for KMTC, even if it is in the health sector, Honorable Speaker. And just to highlight some of the issues, one, Honorable Speaker, is that in the tabled estimates by the National Treasury, members raised concerns about an element of school feeding program, Honorable Speaker. The Budget and Appropriations Committee listened, and I want to report to this House
that we have already provisioned 3.5 billion Kenya shillings for school feeding program, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in Kenya, there are many children who cannot access basic education, devoid of food, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the Budget and Appropriations Committee responded to that, and we have appropriated a roughly 3.5 billion Kenya shillings into the school feeding program. Honorable Speaker, on top of the estimates that we are tabled by the National Treasury, this Budget and Appropriations Committee representing this House, we have also, in consultation with Honorable Meli, who is the Chair for Education, I can assure this House also that there is now sufficient resources to confirm the JSS interns into permanent and pensionable terms, Honorable Speaker. The JSS interns have done an incredible job for our country. They have given their labor at a very low rate, Honorable Speaker. They have helped our country for the last 2 years. It is now our time to also reciprocate by recommending that PSC confirm to permanent and pensionable terms the JSS interns. And from this floor of this House, Honorable Speaker, I want to request TSC, as we appropriate these monies, kindly do not wait up to January of 2025. Please hasten the confirmation of JSS teachers immediately that we pass this budget, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, also, there are all 46,000 interns. Our proposal as Budget and Appropriations Committee is that we take care of all the JSS interns, Honorable Speaker. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, agriculture, chaired by Honorable Mutonga, is the cornerstone of our economy. Honorable Speaker, cornerstone not just in productivity, but also in engagement. 70% of our rural population, Honorable Speaker, are engaged in agriculture. And that is why we will be requesting this House, through the proposals that we have brought forth, that we appropriate Kenya shillings, 10 billion Kenya shillings, that will go into fertilizer subsidy, Honorable Speaker, so that we continue supporting our farmers. Honorable Speaker, we are also anticipating and asking this House to also appropriate the monies to new KCC, some of which was in the supplementary that we dealt with this morning, and others in this main estimate, so that we continue also supporting our dairy farmers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have also put some money for sugar reforms out of the farmers who previously supplied sugarcane to public sugar factories, Honorable Speaker, and they are still old arrears. We have also input some of the money, Honorable Speaker, so that we clear those deals. Honorable Speaker, in the coffee cherry fund, we have also put in 2 billion Kenya shillings on top of what we had appropriated in the supplementary estimates, so that we also support our coffee farmers who, Honorable Speaker, deserve much more than they are getting. Honorable Speaker, in the fertilizer subsidy, there is also a component of KTDA subsidy, so that we also support our tea farmers in regards to fertilizer. Honorable Speaker, Kenya, there are areas that are arable and they practice crop agriculture. But Honorable Speaker, Kenya also has very robust and hard-working pastoralists, Honorable Speaker. And in that regard, Honorable Speaker, when we had the long rains, some of our brothers and sisters lost their livestock. When we had famine, some lost their livestock. When we had glitches in insecurity, some also lost livestock. Honorable Speaker, to set the thread, we have put in 1 billion Kenya shillings for livestock restocking of the Kenyan pastoralists, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there are many other areas around agriculture, but because of time, let me go to the other issue, which is health. Honorable Speaker, this House passed new laws, which is SHIF, Honorable Speaker. And in those laws, we propose to have funds inside those laws, Honorable Speaker. We have provided seed money, Honorable Speaker, for operationalization of those funds as we aim universal health coverage for all the Kenyan people. Honorable Speaker, on roads, there are many stalled projects. We have also appropriated and we have a proposal. Road sector is receiving close to 180 billion, Honorable Speaker. But out of that, over 80 billion Kenya shillings goes into maintenance. Maintenance is fuel levy. Honorable Speaker, I want to assure this House that even during the mediation, one thing that we put forward, and I want to report it is successful, the monies that has been coming to the constituency roads committees through KERA will continue to be channeled through constituency roads committee, Honorable Speaker, under the patronage of the members of parliament in our respective constituencies. And Honorable Speaker, on the same, we have what we call development partners funded, which is around 70 billion, which is around 60 billion, Honorable Speaker, or thereabout. But in a nutshell, the global figure, Honorable Speaker, yes, we have climbed down in terms of roads, in terms of the budget, but the budget that is there, we are channeling into, first of all, completing the stalled and ongoing roads projects, Honorable Speaker, so that we are prudent enough. The utility of a project is derived when the project is complete. When the project is not complete, there is no value for money. There is no utility derived by the Kenyan people. And that is the wisdom of first completing the ongoing projects before we start off new ones, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, our judiciary, in terms of access to justice, we have added more money to our judiciary. For the first time, the judiciary, which is oversighted, Honorable Speaker, by JLAC, led by Honorable Murugana, will be getting 24.6 billion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker, which is a step forward, because we want to support all the arms of government, because that is how a modern state is shaped. Honorable Speaker, for the first time again, this budget is breaking many records. Those who are here in the morning, we debated the issue of the division of revenue. And I see here, Honorable Speaker, looking at the faces, we also have prospective governors. To make their work easier, even those who are already serving, Honorable Speaker, and to guarantee efficient access of the services offered by the county governments. Honorable Speaker, we have upped the equitable share from the previous 385 billion Kenya shillings to the current under consideration of 400 billion.1, Honorable Speaker. That means better services in our county government, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, equalization fund, we are also appropriating around over 10 billion Kenya shillings, that money that will go into making Kenya grow together. All parts of the country matter. It is important for this House to support all of us so that we enjoy the cake that we are baking as a country. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk slowly here because NGCDF, the previous amount on NGCDF was 53 billion Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, the proposal before this House, there is now a proposal for NGCDF of Kenya shillings, 62.9 billion Kenya shillings. If you do the math, on average, constituencies might get, based on the current formula, maybe between 175 to an upward of maybe 250 million Kenya shillings. Honorable Speaker, GAF, our women leaders are doing an incredible job, Honorable Speaker. And I want to commend the President because the chairperson, Honorable Jane Kagiri, has been fighting for the rights Honorable Speaker, one thing that I have to admit, this House has got very intelligent women leaders who are shaping the discourse in this House. And they are doing the same even in our constituencies and in our counties. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, on top of what was already there at the GAF, there is a proposal to add an extra 500 million Kenya shillings to GAF, Honorable Speaker. That money was not there. This is fresh money, and therefore it is an addition. Honorable Speaker, electricity connection is not just a social investment in Kenya. It is also an issue about our environment, industrialization, and economic growth. And I want to report to this House, as I said during the budget policy statement, on top of the budget that is given to the energy sector, there is an extra, and I want to commend the Energy Committee led by Honorable Kawaya for doing a very thorough job on that, Honorable Speaker. We are proposing an additional 14.5 billion Kenya shillings, which will be shared equally among the 290 constituencies. And every constituency will be getting Kenya shillings 50 million for connectivity of electricity in our constituencies and villages, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, what we have done, constituencies like Nairobi, where there is higher connectivity, there is also a challenge of lighting. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in the narrative of that vote, we have been very categorical that it is electrification and other interventions which could also include street lighting, Honorable Speaker. So that if a constituency has a higher connectivity, Honorable Speaker, their challenge of lighting will be sorted by the 50 million per every constituency. Honorable Speaker, this House, Parliament, many times we confuse Parliament to mean MPs. Many times we confuse that the only people who are here in Parliament are the elected representatives. But Honorable Speaker, even the presentation I'm doing today has been concerted effort from the clerk of the National Assembly, Bwana Joroge, down to the Parliamentary Budget Office, led by Dr. Maside, and other incredible people, Honorable Speaker, who are our staff, like Dr. Abel, there is Madam Julie, there is Bwana Dan Kachumbo, and all the others. I've mentioned those to represent other people who work in Parliament, who are not necessarily elected, but they serve the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this House also has our members of Parliament. We have our constituency offices, Honorable Speaker, where the people who work under us to offer efficient service to the people of Kenya are domiciled. Honorable Speaker, let us be fair to these people, and we have been so in our budget, that the staff of Parliament, staff meaning from sergeants all the way to the clerk, they have not had any increment of salary since 2016, Honorable Speaker. The constituency offices, Honorable Speaker, people who work for the Kenyan people, when you are feeding bursaries, they are the people who do it, Honorable Speaker. They have not had an increment of salary just like any other civil servant. We are proposing resources for an additional, Honorable Speaker, of 10% of all the staff, Honorable Speaker, both the permanent in the National Assembly and those in our constituencies, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a budget where the Kenyan people are winning. It is a budget where our economy is winning immensely. It is a budget that is also responding to social investments like education, like healthcare, and all the others. And the aim of this budget, Honorable Speaker, is not just to bake the cake, Honorable Speaker. It is also about how the cake goes to the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. Those who take part and those who don't. And that is why even in terms of welfare economics, Honorable Speaker, we have incorporated it. Transfer of monies to the 70 years plus, 70-year-old and above, Honorable Speaker, is there. Included those who got registered recently, Honorable Speaker. And the proposal of this House is that the 70-year and above, who are our parents, they should not continue to receive this money through the bank accounts. They should be sent on M-Pesa and all the other platforms so that they access this money at our villages, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank everyone here. To thank the Budget and Appropriations Committee, of course, with our Vice Chair, Madam Mary Amase, and all the memberships. To thank the departmental chairs again, the members of this House, all of them, including the leaders, Honorable Kimani Shongwa, Honorable Opio Wadai, representing both sides of the House, because this has been a very collaborative process. And Honorable Speaker, this budget, because we have gone through it, will make our economy better. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, because we work together with the departmental committees, I want to request one of the chairs of the departmental committees, Honorable John Mutonga Kanyuithia, to second this motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to second the adoption of the Budget and Appropriation Committee report on the budget highlights for the year 2024-2025. Honorable Speaker, we have realized that the budget has been increasing over time. And this increase is caused by the increase in the population. It is also caused by the increase in the demands for money. It is also caused by the increase in demand for development. And that increase is commensurate with the levels of development we are in, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the Budget and Appropriation Committee for working overtime to make sure that they deliver this product in time and in the quality that the Chair has very eloquently put. Honorable Speaker, we are here today to pass or discuss this budget and adopt it. Out of adoption of this budget, Honorable Speaker, is progression towards completion of the budgeting cycle. Our recess in the last month of May has been very usefully utilized in the preparation of the budget from the individual committee level to the budget and appropriation, and the proposals that have just been read to you of 4.006 trillion budget have been constituted with very careful consideration of every sector in terms of their demands and in terms of what they need to do over the next 1 year. Honorable Speaker, I just want to pick a few highlights as I second. One, the midwifing of this particular budget has been a process that has costed people time. It is a process that has led to a lot of consultation. The ministries, the departments and agencies have presented their issues. They have been in constant communication with the sectors, and they have also therefore been able to articulate exactly what they need in terms of their budget. And I am sure there hasn't been a major variation or deviation between the budget policy statement that was brought to this House early in the year and the actual budgetary estimates that have been presented this afternoon. Honorable Speaker, the budget has been made to finally respond to the needs of Kenya as an economy, to finally respond to the needs of the people of this country, to finally respond to the development needs of the people of Kenya, and to finally respond to cutting down on imports, especially in the agricultural sector, where the Chair has eloquently put that, Honorable Speaker, we are moving towards import substitution. The idea of making sure that we have our own food is one way of curbing importation. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, the substitution, especially of the edible oils, I'm aware that the ministry or the agricultural sector is in the process of ensuring that we can produce edible oils as a country and stop spending well over 150 billion every year to support importation of edible oils. Honorable Speaker, the notable macroeconomic parameters that the Chair has presented in this House, including and not limited to the strengthening of the shilling, the lowered inflation rate, the student growth rate, and also the fiscal consolidation that has led to major reduction by 2% of the fiscal, of the deficit, is a clear direction, a clear indication that this country is moving in the right direction and the economy is growing. Honorable Speaker, the Kenya Kwanza government, which has sat down and made very clear proposals, policy proposals, has clearly come up with the policy proposals that are leading us in the right direction. The budget that we have basically had this afternoon
touches on different sectors. Honourable Speaker, education is key to this country. Uneducated people or ignorant people cannot lead, cannot grow a nation. Kenya as a country is known to have the best educated people in Africa. And this budget reflects to that spirit. Honourable Speaker, the allocation of over 700 billion shillings to the Kenyan education system attests to the fact that we want our children educated and we want to continue reducing the cost on education so that most of the Kenyans can access education. Honourable Speaker, we have also seen budgetary allocations to other sectors. And I do not need to highlight every sector, Honourable Speaker. What I want to conclude by saying is that this budget has been very finely balanced. And Honourable Speaker, notably, this is one of the processes that is not heavily contested between the majority and the minority. It's one of the processes where the spirit of this House is felt and the spirit of this House as a parliament is exhibited. Honourable Speaker, we would like to see more of this, more of agreement, more of concession in lawmaking so that we may be able to move forward and do better a job as our people and as leaders of this country as we have done in the budget process. Honourable Speaker, we are looking forward to have the appropriation bill and also there will be the finance bill. I would look forward to the same spirit that we have today. People who are happy to do the proposals on the budget, also to look at possibilities of raising money to be able to finance that particular budget, and that we do not have glaring disagreements between ourselves and our friends on the other side. Honourable Speaker, many sectors have been looked into and many sectors have been supported. To the extent possible, we are looking forward to a year that is going to be activity-filled, a year that is going to cause more reduction in terms of borrowing, a year that is going to cause to lead to more support to development. Honourable Speaker, with those very few remarks, I wish to second the adoption of the report by the Chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee. I thank you.
Honourable members, I now put the question. I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the median term for the financial year 2024-2025, laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 5th June 2024, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 2021 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act of 2012 and Standing Order number 239. 1. Approves the issuance of the sum of 2,392,832,508,617,000 shillings for the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2025. In respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to the paragraph 3, that's the Committee of Supply. 2, makes the policy and financial resolutions as contained in the second schedule to the order paper. And 3, orders that the Speaker do leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Before I entertain your point of order, I would like to recognize the following schools. Kabare Girls High School from Gishugu constituency, Kirinyaga County. I also wish to recognize, seated in the public gallery, Musuvo Mixed Secondary School from Mwingi Central constituency, Kitui County. And on that, I will allow Honorable Mulyungi, member for Mwingi Central, to welcome them on behalf of the National Assembly.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I welcome all the students and schools who are here today visiting us to Parliament. Madam Speaker, I encourage all the students who are here to work very hard to succeed in their education and their careers, and aspire one day to be members of Parliament and the senior public servants. Travel back home safely and pass our regards to your parents. Karibuni sana and God bless you. Asante.
I'll let you have your point of order, but I hope it's relevant, because if it's not, I'll have you sit down. Yes, okay. What's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the Chair of Budget. The document.
What's the point of order?
Yes, the document we have reflects 306 billion, but not 2.3 trillion. So we want to know, where is that document? The one which was printed is 3.6 billion.
Sorry?
The document which we have is 306 billion, but not 2.3 trillion. So we need to contribute to a document which reflects the figures that have been mentioned by the Chair of Budgets.
Which document are you referring to?
It is on the report on the consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2024-2025 at the medium term. And if you look at the total, it's 306 billion. Which page? The last page. But not the 2.3 trillion as mentioned by the Chair.
Honorable Chairperson, since I do not have that particular document, maybe you can respond, because I do not have that one.
Honorable Speaker, this document is containing many figures. I'll sit down with my brother so that we go through it. The data is correct, the information is correct. However, it needs to be read alongside all the others. But I'll guide him, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, let's proceed. Yes, Honorable Wamushomba, what's your point of information?
Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of information which I may need some clarification from the Chair of Budget's Appropriation Committee, and I refer to the Constitution of Kenya, Article 221.
So who do you wish to inform, the Budget Chair?
I want to inform the Chair so that he can respond probably to the House.
Let's hear first.
Article 221 of the Kenyan Constitution says at least 2 months before the end of each financial year, the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance shall submit to the National Assembly estimates of the revenue and expenditure of the national government for the next financial year to be tabled in the National Assembly. According to what I understand this, Madam Speaker, a budget caters for both revenue estimates and expenditure estimates. Looking at what the chair of this committee has been exposing to the House, it is expenditure. So I want a clarification whether the revenue estimates have been tabled and whether that revenue estimate that was tabled includes the many loans that the government of Kenya is struggling to pay. Thank you.
Honorable Wamushomba, if you recall, I think it was the 30th of April, yes, that the minister submitted the revenue. So you're 2 months behind. Yes, all those steps have actually been ticked off. So if you are following the calendar year, because when we came in February, we immediately dealt with the budget policy statement. Yes, the revenue was submitted on the 30th of April. Yes. And in fact, what I'll do while you just go to table office, you'll be able to find it. That is done 2 months before. Yes, let's proceed. We won't waste any time on that because, yes, who do I give an opportunity here? Yes, I know. Let me just check who's here. Okay, and I was just checking the chairpersons who are ready. Yeah. You know, that's why some members nowadays boast that they don't come to Parliament. Yes, because if someone comes to Parliament, you'll be able to know that. So, Honorable Pukose, member for Endebess.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just to inform members that the chairpersons would, in this type of debate, would have priority, but I'll just give maybe 4 chairs, then other members, and so on and so forth, so that everybody gets an opportunity. But I'm also persuading the chairpersons that even though you have 15 minutes, just in consideration of your other colleagues, if you could make it brief so that many more people can have an opportunity, because this is one of the most important tasks that Parliament undertakes. And it's actually a mission-critical process so that we can allow more members to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support the consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025. Honorable Speaker, first I want to thank my committee for having spent time with the Ministry of Health, both the State Department for Medical Services and the State Department for Public Health and Professional Standards and its sagas. And I also want to thank the chair of the Budget Committee together with the Committee of Budget for giving us an opportunity where we are able to sit and present the various committee budget, and more specifically for me presenting the budget for the Ministry of Health, that is budget line 1082 and 1083. Madam Speaker, when you look at the budget for health, we've done we did some laws in this year. Among them is the Digital Health Law, the Social Health Insurance Law, the Primary Health Care Law, and the Facility Improvement Law. Madam Speaker, under the Social Health Insurance Law, in this budget, we've provided 1.5 billion for emergency, chronic, and critical illnesses. We've also provided 4 billion for primary health care fund, meaning that our universal health care is now ready for rolling down, because the other contribution for the Social Health Insurance Authority will be contribution from members and also contribution from the public. And therefore, I want to reassure the Kenyans that this bill, this budget has taken care of making sure that we are able to operationalize both the emergency, chronic, and critical illnesses with 1.5 billion and the primary health care with 4 billion. Also in this budget, we've provided money, 2 billion for the Linda Mama program. That is to make sure that our women, when they go and deliver, they are able to be taken care of as we transition to a more comprehensive universal health care. Honorable Speaker, under this law, under this budget, we've also been able to make sure that the National Cancer Institute is able to be operationalized, because one of the biggest challenges in this country has been the issue about addressing the issues of cancer. And therefore, we provided 100 million to operationalize the National Cancer Institute. We've also provided 80 million to the National Cancer Institute to make sure that the established regional cancer institute centers are able to be functional. We have regional cancer center in Mombasa, we have one in Garissa, we have in Nakuru, We also have in Kisii, which is in the process of being built and it will soon be operationalized. And this will address matters about cancer within our country, in addition to the established Kenyatta National Hospital, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital. In this budget, Honorable Speaker, we've also provided Kenyatta National Hospital with 450 million to be able to buy another cancer machine, the LINAC machine for radiotherapy, because when you visit Kenyatta National Hospital with one machine which is functioning, we have many patients who are waiting. That machine is working without stopping, and the patients are being put on radiotherapy day and night, 24 hours. And that makes sure that we have many patients who are on the waiting list. And this makes it very pathetic, very discouraging for many patients who depend on government facilities for treatment. And therefore, by Parliament providing 450 million to Kenyatta National Hospital to buy another LINAC machine for this financial year, then we hope that Kenyatta National Hospital will now reduce the waiting time for patients who are waiting for radiotherapy within Kenyatta National Hospital. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we've also made sure that we're going to make sure that the 23 KMTCs, which have been set up by the honorable members, will be able to make them operational through employment of more staff, through equipping of those KMTCs, and also through making sure that there is completion of construction. Madam Speaker, this budget, as much as it has had challenges, because initially the budget ceilings that were put, we had to reduce it by close to 30% for all the ministries. And that, I want to say that the ministry should not worry, because if the government is able to meet its target in terms of revenue collection, then what it means is that when we will have another supplementary one to address the various caps and challenges that we'll be able to face in the course of the financial year. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for the, Honorable David Kangogo, Member for Marakwet East. Honorable Kangogo. Okay, he's busy. He's not ready. Honorable Tangoya? No, your time passed. Proceed, Honorable Tangoya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to add my support to the Budget and Appropriation Committee for a well-done job. So I want really to thank the Chair and the committee for putting a lot of time to really come up with a very moderate budget. Honorable Speaker, listening to the Chair budget, it is so encouraging to realize that the budget as read has continued to really live to the promise that the Kenya government, Kenya Kwanza government promised to Kenyans. More importantly, Madam Speaker, to appreciate is that the budget has continued to really put more emphasis on the matters and sectors that are so crucial and important to the Kenyan people. To mention like agriculture, that a lot of emphasis and enhancement has been given to the sector of agriculture to ensure that the Kenyan people continue to be hunger-free. And it's something notable, Madam Speaker, that should be appreciated. It's also good, Madam Speaker, to note that the budget looked into the consideration of the pastoralist community especially talking into the issue of restocking. It is the first time that we are actually seeing a very good positive direction in looking into the real issues that affect the Kenyan pastoralist. Madam Speaker, there is also, in the sector of security, there is an enhancement into the area of security, which is so crucial to the entire sector of this country, especially when we are handling and tackling the issue of insecurity and cattle rustling in the North Rift, and actually the issue of bandits in northeastern part of this country. The budget has really taken into consideration, and we want to assure Kenyans that with the enhanced budget and provision of the tools of service to our National Police Service and our security organs, Kenya is continued to be secure. There is a huge budget that has gone into the modernization program and even enhanced in the issue of operations. Madam Speaker, more importantly, there is a sector of government printer. That is a very crucial institution that does a lot of crucial documents to this country, to mention even the bills we use in this house, the logbooks, the title deeds, and the institution has continued to be in depleted state. My committee had also considered, and also the Committee of Budget had also considered to add and enhance the budget, which will go a long way to ensure that this important institution get back to its feet. Madam Speaker, in the budget, again within the ministry, there is Mbagathi National Police Hospital that has been ready and equipped for the last 3 or 4 years, but has never been able to be used by our security and police officers. And in the budget, there is a substantial amount allocated to it, and it is going to help a big deal to let our police officers get the much needed health services. Madam Speaker, on the issue of electricity, it is very encouraging to note the much consideration that the budget has been given, and I'm sure Kenyans are going to go back to enjoy the connectivity which was halted for some time now. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I want also personally to really appreciate that the budget really mirrors the promise made by the leadership of Kenya Kwanza, especially when we are talking about the tight state we are as a country, the austerity measures, especially in reducing the bare minimums, reducing the issue of foreign trips, so that the money gets to where it's so important to the Kenyan people. So I want to really join the rest of us to really appreciate and commend a well-done job, and I'm sure Kenyans are going to enjoy the fruit. I submit, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Johanna Ngeno, Chairperson for Housing and Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for also allowing me this opportunity to also make my contribution towards this motion. Madam Speaker, I wish to state clearly that I support the motion. And I know very well, Madam Speaker, that these are annual estimates for the financial year 24-25, which is geared towards stimulating the economy of this country and also implementing the projects which the Kenya Kwanza government had proposed to the people of this nation. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Chair for this great presentation, and of course for the great balance and the serious balance he made in the distribution of funds towards several ministries or the various ministries concerned, and the various departments which of course are going to make use of these funds. Madam Speaker, I must also congratulate him for looking at the serious areas where many issues have been arising, especially on the areas concerning roads. Madam Speaker, I wish to congratulate the chair and the committee for putting much considerations on the issues to do with the roads. Madam Speaker, remember this year rains have ravaged the country, Madam Speaker, so that even the roads which were had been done properly, Madam Speaker, currently most of the roads in the country are impassable, so that we literally have to redo the roads like they have never existed before. But Madam Speaker, I would have wished our chairman, given the limited resources, I would have wished if the resources were enough. Madam Speaker, I would have wished to see the extension of what we used to call low-volume roads, which were initiated in the previous regime, being continued at this current situation, so that those low-volume roads, Madam Speaker, made very serious impact on the societies that we come from, and most of them have also been almost destroyed by the water. I mean, by the rains, and would have been prudent, Madam Speaker, if those roads were repaired, and of course, extension of those. It was around 10 kilometers per constituency. Would have been also prudent if they were extended to 20 kilometers so that we could. But of course, we understand the constraints of the budget. Madam Speaker, there is also the question of electricity, which I want to thank the committee for putting much considerations. I would have also wished they also allocated more funds, and this is also a request that we are asking them, that in future, let us also ensure that the last mile connectivity, which had been initiated in the previous regime, is also continued so that people can access electricity, because electricity has also become one of the basic needs of our people, because most of the things we do nowadays, Madam Speaker, you cannot do them without electricity. So if we were to have electricity connections in every village, every household, then of course we will be able to access many developmental activities that we have. Madam Speaker, on the sector of education, Madam Speaker, and this was another area where we also had a discussion, I want to thank the committee and the chairman for their consideration of that sector. In this situation, Madam Speaker, and I think we will also be requesting or asking the committee and the chairman to please consider in the future, that as much as we have allocated money for capitation in both primary and secondary education, we must also consider one day, we allocate money to cater for the school feeding programs, not only on primary, but on day secondary education. Madam Speaker, remember, the introduction of free day secondary education was a great relief to most of the parents. And it had gone a long way in ensuring that many students who would have missed education because of the cost of education on secondary boarding schools, etc. Madam Speaker, when free day secondary education was introduced in this country, most of the children from the poor backgrounds have accessed education as we speak today, Madam Speaker. We have sent so many students to universities, we have sent so many students to colleges, and we have even sent so many students abroad who are the products of these day secondary schools. Would have wished as an extension, Madam Speaker, on the issue of day, because currently most of the students are sent home from day schools, and yet those day schools are free, you don't pay fees, but the major problem affecting those particular students is feeding programs. They are being sent home to bring fees to pay for food. Madam Speaker, it would have been prudent also if the committee and the chair was to consider adding 3,000 or even 5,000 on top of capitation, so that we can take that one towards feeding the day secondary school students. In
in that connection, Madam Speaker, we will not be having these days students coming home, but I will be taking lunch in the school because we would have allocated some money to these particular programs. Madam Speaker, on the issue of security, I've seen a very good allocation towards security, and we are hoping that the concerned departments and the concerned ministry will ensure that we have proper security in this country. On my area, Madam Speaker, which is the housing, and you will protect me from some serious consultation, loud consultation, Madam Speaker, around me. I would wish to thank the committee because they considered the proposals which were made towards this process, and especially from my committee. And the allocation which was put here is the allocation which we actually requested. And Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee, and especially the money allocated to the housing, which is around 87 billion. Madam Speaker, remember the projects which the President, His Excellency the President, initiated in this country, especially the affordable housing, which is catering for Article 43 of the Constitution, where the government is obliged to ensure that Kenya's citizens access affordable housing that has all the facilities that are concerned, from electricity, water, and lighting. I mean, electricity, water, and also proper sanitation. Madam Speaker, the programs which were initiated by the President are very good, and we have, as a committee, also have gone around the country and ensured that the programs which have been started are ongoing, and some of them had stopped, Madam Speaker, because the law was not in place. And the committee, I want to thank my committee, which is the the Housing Committee, which did proper public participation. And in that public participation, Madam Speaker, we brought the law here, and this House passed the law, and the President assented to it, and which unlocked the access to these particular funds, which was the housing levy, Madam Speaker. In the current allocation, Madam Speaker, I want to tell this House and the nation that the levy which was collected can now be accessed by the State Department to build houses. And Madam Speaker, the 87 billion which has been allocated in this budget proposal, Madam Speaker, budget estimates, will mostly, around 90%, will go towards building affordable housing. And Madam Speaker, I want to say that among us the affordable housing projects the State Department are undertaking in this country, we as a committee also, we allowed them to access the billions of money which has been collected as a levy towards, apart from building affordable housing in towns, especially in major towns. They also do affordable housing in cities and in small towns in the constituencies. But the most important part of these projects, Madam Speaker, is the hostels. Because when we went around also the country, Madam Speaker, we realized that most of the parents who are sending students either to universities in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Nairobi, the hostels in those universities, Madam Speaker, are few as compared to the number of students which are accommodated in those schools. And most of those students have to go and get houses outside the universities. And there are two factors in getting houses out or accommodation out of the university, Madam Speaker. One, insecurity. Two, the cost of those houses. So the building of hostels in our universities and colleges, Madam Speaker, will bring down the prices of accommodation to our students, so that parents, when they are sending their students either to the far areas, they will not be paying a lot of money towards accommodation. Madam Speaker, I want to say these budget estimates will help in helping, in making a reality the proposals or the promises which were made to the people of this country, and we are hoping that it is going to be implemented properly. And of course, Madam Speaker, the last part, which I think is towards also water, and water is one of the most fundamental factor in our lives, Madam Speaker, and most of us, the rain which actually ravaged the country, Madam Speaker, if you were to ask anybody in this house, Madam Speaker, no water was saved. The rainwater that, that happened in this country, Madam Speaker, because there were no dams, there were no proper storages. So even the water, the rain which ravaged this country went to waste. Madam Speaker, I hope this budget and the implementers of the budget will ensure that in future we create situations where if there was going to be high rains like we experienced in the last months, Madam Speaker, that water will not go to waste, but it will also be stored for future uses. Madam Speaker, I wish to end there by saying I support this particular proposal for estimates. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Malava, Honourable Moses Ijendi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to thank the Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, together with the members of the committee, for a job well done. Madam Speaker, I really appreciate this committee because as Vice Chair to Education Committee, I take note that all the proposals we were having as a committee to the Budget Committee, all of them were incorporated to the advantage of the education sector. Madam Speaker, I also want to appreciate the fact that the government is taking seriously the education sector for what it is to this country. Because when you look at the budget, the education sector has taken the most huge part of it, which is accounting for 24% of the total budget. Madam Speaker, we have, as Education Committee, we have key areas which we have prioritized in terms of budgeting, and these are the following, which have been taken care of properly by the Budget Committee. This is provision of resources to support the free primary and secondary education, as well as junior secondary school education, schools infrastructure improvement to support CBC, funding to various universities, resources to help to support students in both universities and TVET institutions, and expansion of the basic TVET and universities infrastructure, and recruitment of teachers and TVET instructors. Madam Speaker, when we look at the education sector budget, it is also well aligned to the bottom-up economic transformation agenda of the government, and this actually accounts for 35.5 billion. And the priorities in this particular area, Madam Speaker, are the following: construction of 52 TTIs, construction of integrated resource centers, and construction of junior second school classrooms, and junior second school learners capitation, Madam Speaker, which was an issue in the previous financial year. So, Madam Speaker, the Education Committee noted some key areas that require concrete policy direction for future funding and proper and seamless flow of activities in the education sector. Madam Speaker, when it comes to the Teacher Service Commission, as reported, there was a hue and cry about the junior second school interns. We are reporting here that we had actually a proposal to the Budget Committee that all the interns who are numbering to 46,000, all of them must be converted into permanent and pensionable employment. Madam Speaker, this has been factored in, taken care of. We have, however, allocated another 20. We proposed also for an allocation of 4.7 billion to continue with the interns in the country, so as to bridge the gap that's there in terms of teaching of junior secondary schools. And the coming financial year will recruit about 20,000, which was our proposal. This will be in line with actually bridging the gap that's there in teaching. Madam Speaker, I would report that it was very interesting that there was demonstrations, and as even these demonstrations were going on because of incitement left and right, the Education Committee had already taken care of this fact, and maybe just to assure all those who will be taken on internship not to make any noise, not to go on streets, because this is now provided for that when you are in turn, after a particular period of time, you'll be converted into permanent pensionable. The only thing that we are requesting the TSC to do is to ensure that there's a legal framework on the program of internship in our schools, whether it's to take 1 year or to take 2 years before absorption. Madam Speaker, I also thank the committee for giving into our requests for 1 billion for promotion of teachers. You recall this ending financial year, there was promotion of teachers, but majority of the teachers who were to be promoted were not promoted because of the constraint of funding. So this year there's 1 billion that will take care of those teachers who are not promoted. Madam Speaker, what we have to note is that most of the teachers stagnate in one job group for a very long time, over 15 years. Maybe we will need a policy on this when it comes to promotion so that this is not actually held back because of funding as it's happening currently. Madam Speaker, in the area of TVET, you are aware, we are aware as members that each and every constituent must have a TVET. We have also, the budget committee, through our proposal, some good money was allocated to ensure that all constituencies now have TVETs. However, we want to note as a committee that there are some delays in implementation of these projects. For example, in this financial year, we have about 14 TTIs that have not been implemented simply because of delays in tendering processes in our government systems. So this maybe will require the attention of the government, the ministry, to fast track this particular process. Madam Speaker, there also has been an allocation of some good money, 2.7 billion, for infrastructure in our junior secondary schools. This money, maybe members have to note, it will be coming through a CDF, our constituency offices. The only thing that maybe has to be worked on is to ensure that there is proper collaboration between the Ministry of Planning, the Department of Planning and Basic Education, and of course the CDF boards, to ensure that there is seamless implementation of this project in our schools, because as much as we began this particular process, we have not received, for example, money. For the last financial year, money has not yet hit the accounts of CDF offices to commence this particular process of construction of infrastructure in our schools. Madam Speaker, we also note here that we were also so surprised on Education Committee during the estimate that came from Treasury, which actually had struck off a feeding program in our schools. We pushed through this, and I want to thank the Budget Committee for actually taking into this and restoring this as per our proposal. So, Madam Speaker, we as the Education Committee want to assure Kenyans and the general population and these members that we are really keen on what's happening in the country in terms of, in view of our education in our country, education standards in our country, and considering that most persons now have taking their children to school, we want to assure the country that we will continue fighting and ensuring that all is well in our education sector, in spite of a few hitches here and there, as we move on with the new funding model, even at the universities. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I support.
East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the budget estimate 2024-2025. Madam Speaker, I don't want to say a lot because many of my colleagues, including the chair of Budget and Appropriation Committee, and when he was moving, Madam Speaker, he spoke a lot cutting across the sectors and the importance of this budget, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to say some few things. Number one, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that there is some little increment, especially in capitation through the Ministry of Education. And Madam Speaker, even as we support the allocation to the Ministry of Education, I think there is need for government, Madam Speaker, to look into the formula of capitation. Because, Madam Speaker, we have seen that the current formula is not favoring many students. And many of the students, Madam Speaker, they have dropped. Number two, Madam Speaker, the allocation they have given to water, especially on mitigation of flood control, is very important. Madam Speaker, for the last few months, we've seen many floods across the country. Many people lost their lives. Our roads were destroyed. Many water infrastructure, almost 70% of our water infrastructure across the country were destroyed, Madam Speaker. And the allocation given, Madam Speaker, is going to help in terms of mitigating the effects of that flood, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, second issue, if you see the allocation given to, especially this issue of flood control, it's very little, Madam Speaker, very small. And we are talking of the same problems, floods killing people in Budalangi, in areas of Nyanza, in northern Kenya, in Coast Province. Mr. Speaker, the allocation given of less than $1 billion is very small. We will continue, losing our people and also losing infrastructure if we don't allocate enough resources, Madam Speaker. But again, given that that is what we have as a country and our revenue, Madam Speaker, cannot sustain, so we will go as what it is now, Madam Speaker. The second issue, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that through the Ministry of Education, the Teacher Service Commission, they have allocated money for the JSS teachers to be employed permanently. And also for our doctors, Madam Speaker, who they have been demonstrating on the streets for quite a number of months. I'm happy now that the government has been very sensitive to make sure that the interns are now going to be absorbed permanently, and also the JSS teachers. Another issue, Madam Speaker, I think there is need, Madam Speaker, going forward, to increase the allocation for digitization in this country. Madam Speaker, we need to invest in technology. If we have to move as a country, now many countries, they are now in AI technology. The AI technology, Madam Speaker, some of us, we are talking about e-learning. And if you go to many of the rural schools, there are no computers, there is no power, there is no internet. So how are those students in the rural areas are going to benefit with the e-learning if the infrastructure is not there? So, Madam Speaker, I'm happy that through the Ministry of Energy, they have been able to allocate now every constituency 50 million for rural electrification. And that one is going to help our schools, the local hospitals, Madam Speaker, and also our people in the villages to get to benefit with that light. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say I support the committee report, and as a House, Madam Speaker, we need also, especially many of us who are departmental chairs, and also the oversight committees in this House, Madam Speaker, especially the Public Accounts Committee. The Public Accounts Committee, Madam Speaker, together with the Auditor General reports, they must be taken seriously in this House, so that we make sure that the small resources we have as a country, the small we have allocated, they are utilized properly. And Madam Speaker, like what I heard the Honorable Mbadi say this morning about the Article 223, it's so general that as a House, I think we need to look at Article 223 so that it is not abused. That every other time, the government just withdraws money, gets money under Article 223 without approval of Parliament. So with those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Honorable Member for Gatanga, I see that you have an amendment motion. I think I can allow you to prosecute it now. And I think the amendment has already been circulated. You may proceed, Honorable Murray. I hope it won't take too long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I wish, or I beg to move a motion for the consideration of the budget estimate for the financial year 2024-25 to be amended by inserting the following words immediately after the words second schedule to the order paper appearing on paragraph 2. Subject to the insertion of the following policy solutions, we request for introduction of the education sector. That, beginning the financial year 2024-25, the school feeding program currently being undertaken by the national government covers all learners in all public basic education sector. Madam Speaker, the amendment is not only constitutional, but moral. Let me first and foremost, Madam Speaker, I thank the committee, the Finance Committee, the Budget Committee, for making a very, very elaborate budget proposal, very elaborate public participation, whereby we have come up with a budget estimate of 2.9 trillion. I also wish, Madam Speaker, to thank the NACONEC, the institution which has been managing the school feeding program in Asal. They have been doing an exemplary job. Madam Speaker, two wrongs cannot make one right. Madam Speaker, on the 11th October 2023, this Parliament passed a resolution that school feeding program need to be implemented in all our primary and junior secondary schools to ensure that there is quality. That is already in the record of this Parliament, and Madam Speaker, we are saying it's a high time we implement that resolution. Madam Speaker, under Article 53 of the Constitution, it provides that every child is entitled to free and compulsory education. That is an Article 53(1)(b). Article 53(1)(c) provides that every child in this country is entitled to basic nutrition, shelter, and health. Second, Madam Speaker, Article 27, subsection 4, provides that there shall never be any discrimination to anybody, a citizen of this republic, by the virtue of their race, their religion, their age, or the region where they come from. Madam Speaker, the point here is very simple. The NACONEC has been focusing more on the nomadic areas, which is very good. However, the Constitution provides that all children in the Republic of Kenya, they are equal before God and before the Constitution. And secondly, Madam Speaker, if we are able to provide school feeding program in all our schools, we shall start getting value, the return on investment, which currently the budget provides for 700 billion. But by the virtue of the fact that there is no school feeding program, that's why you find there's a lot of dropout and poor performance. Gatanga constituency, the conversion rate is below 12%. Madam Speaker, the intervention of food is key, in particular for the young learners. The children in Kasipur Kabondo, if they can be able to have a meal during lunch, their performance, the efficiency, the retention, they'll perform better. The children in the other constituency, same, if they're able to get a meal every day, in fact, that is what takes them to school. The children in Mwingi West, Mwingi North, they go to school because if they are provided for a meal, they'll be able to go to school. And therefore, we are saying, Madam Speaker, we want the school feeding program to cover the entire country, not one section. Because if it moves in the way it is right now, there's no policy. There's no policy statement in the budget statement on this issue. But if it continues being only on the Asar region, eventually what will happen is that one will go to court and declare the whole article, the whole provision, the whole budget, especially on the school feeding program, unconstitutional because it has failed to deliver on Article 53, and it has also failed Article 27 of the Constitution. Madam Speaker, are you back in history? The late President Moi provided for milk not only in the Rift Valley, not only in Northeastern, not only in Turkana, but provided school milk for all the children of this country. The reason why he did that is because he knew very well that it's only at the age of about 14 that the children require a lot of food, so at least they can be able to grow their minds and be able to learn properly. And therefore, in the same analogy, let's learn from the history that all children in this country are equal under the law, under the Constitution, and therefore the good work has been being carried out by NACONEC be propagated and be pushed to other parts of the country, whereby all our children can start having a meal in the primary school, so at least we can be able to ensure that the retention, there is efficiency, there is good performance, and there is enrollment also in our high school, in our schools can be able to increase. And my proposal, Madam Speaker, is that money, we need NACONEC to continue managing it. We don't want that money to be put in that bottomless pit in the Ministry of Health. We want NACONEC to continue doing that work. Spread the spirit of goodness. Spread the spirit of giving our children food, not only in the northeastern side, but also in all parts of the country. I know, Madam Speaker, there's a challenge of a budget, but I appeal to the members of Parliament that everything starts with a framework. We want to create a framework whereby it's not only the Asao region, which is children who are getting what calls school feeding program. It's all the children of the Republic of Kenya, because that's what the Constitution says. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I propose that at the beginning of that, on the budget 2024, we come up with we bring an amendment in the education center that the school feeding program be currently undertaken by the national government, covers all learners in public basic education. That is the ECD, the primary, and what you call the junior secondary school. I move the motion and I request the Member of Parliament for Kajiado North, Honorable Gogoyo, to second the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to second the motion by the member for Gatanga, the Honorable Murray. Madam Speaker, it has come to our attention, Madam Speaker, the height of unfairness in the distribution of the money set aside for school feeding program. Madam Speaker, I come from Kajiado County, an Asal County. The whole of my constituency and other constituencies do not receive money for the school feeding program. During the last drought that Kajiado faced, Madam Speaker, we had the worst dropout of school-going children. Madam Speaker, when we are doing capitation, we do capitation per child in a school. Madam Speaker, we are of the opinion that we should endeavor to keep the child in school to continue going to school. Madam Speaker, even in Nairobi County, Taita Taveta County, Madam Speaker, there are counties that were affected greatly by the last drought, specifically Taita Taveta. In Nairobi County, Madam Speaker, you have what we call urban poverty, children who do not get a meal and they're supposed to go to school. Madam Speaker, we must, setting aside resources are set aside so that they meet specific needs for people. If we want to keep a child in school, Madam Speaker, let us keep children who deserve to be in school. And I single out Narok, Kajiado. Madam Speaker, this does not happen in the school feeding program. Madam Speaker, going by what we have, Madam Speaker, we will not have achieved the intention of keeping children in school. I therefore second the motion, Madam Speaker, and urge this Honourable House, let us be fair to all children who are going to school. Let us keep them in school, Madam Speaker, by providing them with a meal. Madam Speaker, I have 3 institutions, one called Life International, that tries to feed children in schools. For instance, about 4 schools have been picked up. Madam Speaker, the turnout of children, keeping them in school has become excellent, almost to a tune of 98% in an urban center, Madam Speaker. I therefore propose the amendment. As I second the amendment, Madam Speaker, I say this is the only way to achieve fairness in the school feeding program. With those very many remarks, Madam Speaker, I second the motion.
Can you allow me first to propose the question first, okay? Honorable members, I now propose the question that the motion for the consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025. Oh, sorry, let me start again. Honorable members, let me start again. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the motion for the consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2024-2025 be amended by inserting the following words immediately after the words second schedule to the order paper, appearing in paragraph 2. Subject to the insertion of the following policy resolution: education, that beginning financial year 2024-2025, the school feeding program currently being undertaken by the national government covers learners in all basic education institutions. Okay. Yes, what's your point of order, Honorable? Yes, let me allow, you also have a point of order? I'll allow Honorable Naisula.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of order under Standing Order 114 and also Article 114 of the Constitution. And I must say on the onset that the vision that my friend Honorable Moreu has is excellent. That all our school-going children are fed in school, Madam Speaker, because the same challenges that a child in Samburu faces is the same where children in Gatanga face, Madam Speaker. But it is important that I bring to your attention that listening to his motion, Madam Speaker, it touches on money matters that has come to this House. Because Article 114 says, in the opinion of the Speaker of the National Assembly, a motion makes provision for a matter listed in the definition of a money bill. The Assembly may proceed only in accordance with the recommendations of the relevant committee, which in this case is the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the Assembly, after taking into account the views of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance, Madam Speaker. And so it would need concurrence with Treasury, Madam Speaker. And so the spirit of the amendment is in perfect, I support it, but I believe it has come a bit too late. He should have brought it when we were doing the Budget and Appropriations Committee, looking at all the recommendations of the committees, and also during the budget policy statement. That is when it should have come, because then we would have appropriated the funds. Even this 3 billion that we have been fighting for ASAL areas was not there. We've had to fight for it. Now, if we say that 3 billion we divide into small pieces now to get to our children, it is not possible. And so I believe in the next cycle, BPS, he can bring it, and I can assure you, Honorable Moreu, I will support it. But I believe it has come in a bit too late. And so, Madam Speaker, I do hope that you find this to be a money amendment and decline to propose the question of the amendment of my very good friend, Honorable Moreu.
Farah Malim was going first.
Madam Speaker, I also join my sister from Samburu. And I want to say from the outset, I have nothing against all Kenyan children being accorded a certain portion or meal for them to be able. I do know that there are pockets of poverty all over the country. But Madam Speaker, these things have got to be done at the right time. Mr. Muriu, Makiri Muriu, who is my colleague in the JLAC, should have thought about this way earlier and brought up that kind of a move or motion to the attention of the Budget Committee. And here it says, and I go back again, if in the opinion, that's the Constitution, this is the Constitution 2010, if in the opinion of the Speaker of the National Assembly, a motion makes provision for matters listed in the definition of a money bill, anything that has a cost, the Assembly may only proceed in accordance with the recommendations of the relevant committee of the Assembly after taking into account the views of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance. So this thing was dead ab initio, and I think it's dead and it cannot proceed. And also the same provision is there in the standing orders, the same number, standing order number 114. Mr. Muriu, good idea. Work on it next year, and we'll see how we can work on it, because then there's going to be sufficient provision in terms of sufficient funds for all the children of Kenya. In any case, it's unconstitutional for us now to begin considering this in the budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
May I have the mic? I think I'll give an opportunity. I can see your card there, the Vice Chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I know you're standing in for the Chairperson. It's good to hear from that committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The amendment by my friend Honorable Muriu is a good one. All of us here have constituencies, we have schools. I think it will be in the interest of every member that we have school feeding programs in all schools. However, the budget making process starts much early. We are at the tail end of the budget making process. That is why we have the budget policy statements that lays the direction and the foundation upon which the figures are now set. So, to respond to my friend Honorable Muriu, under Article 114 of the Constitution, and also Standing Order number 114, it requires that a motion of this nature must be presented first to the Budget and Appropriations Committee to undertake three things. One, for the Budget and Appropriations Committee to conduct public participation, consult the public on the matter. Two, to consult National Treasury for their views and advice, because they need to advise on availability of resources. The National Treasury has to advise on sustainability of the project. And then thereafter, the Budget Committee is expected to table a report or to present recommendations to the floor of this House. Madam Speaker, I want to report that that has not happened. The member did not submit his request to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. In view of the foregoing, therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to request that you decline the amendment. Use your discretion to decline this amendment because it has come a bit too late. But I would want to advise the member to pick up the matter with the chairman of the Education Committee so that the discussion can begin between the committee and the Minister of Education so that this program to expand the school feeding to accommodate the whole country can be captured in the Ministry of Education planning, so that now from there it can appear in the next budget policy statement, upon which now we as the Budget and Appropriations Committee can put the figures so that we can accommodate the entire country. But as it stands now, I think it has come a bit too late. However, it's a very good idea. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, let's not flog a dead horse. Yes? It's a dead horse, let's not flog it. So I will proceed this way, that this is the ruling. Pursuant to the provisions of Article 114, which have been alluded to by all the speakers of the Constitution and Standing Order 114 of 3, I will decline to put the question because the matter is out of time. And Honorable Murui is a lawyer, so he knows when you're time-barred. There is the statute of limitation applies here. Thank you, Honorable Murui. Yeah, he's a very clever lawyer. He was my classmate. Just to say 1 minute, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to thank you for the opportunity. And he's disturbing me, Madam Speaker. Please protect me. Madam Speaker, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Because, as I said earlier, 2 wrongs do not make 1 right. And secondly, there is a constitutional and a moral requirement to make sure that every child in this country is well fed, because that's what Article 53 of the Constitution provides. And second, Madam Speaker, Article 27 again says no one should be discriminated. And therefore, when I hear my honorable members making that assertion, I'm happy that everybody is well bound. And finally, Madam Speaker, okay. And I think it is important.
I don't want you to re-prosecute the
yes,
case.
I'm not prosecuting. I just want to
I'm
thank you.
just obliged that you accept the ruling.
It's a matter of emotion, Madam Speaker. And finally, I think the House needs to appreciate that it is only the children who have left their mother's breast up to the age of about 12, 13 who are not given food. Children in secondary schools, in universities are provided food by the government. And therefore, it's a moral issue for us to ask ourselves, are we going to continue feeding adults, or we want to continue making their children be fed? But I stand guided, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, I know that some members, when they saw the amendment circulating, they asked me, why did you approve it? It's clearly, contrary to the Constitution and the standing orders. I said, I do not have the power to decline to rule against the amendment from my desk. It has to make it to the House, then you prosecute it, then we hear responses, then make a ruling from the House. So the Speaker has no power to make rulings from the Speaker's desk in the office upstairs. It can only be done from this chair. So that's the reason. Thank you. Let's proceed. I think I'll give an opportunity. What is your point of order? But we have already debated. This matter is closed. Are you raising this issue? Yes, that's what I'm saying. I hope you are not prosecuting the same matter. No, but are you discussing the matter at all? Okay, be seated. Let's move to the next person to debate. No, we are just going back to the debate. We are resuming debate, and I'm giving the chairpersons an opportunity. Which chairpersons are here? This is not the first time you have been a nuisance in the House. You know that. You always demand that you must speak. Like I've told you, we've finished the issue of the amendment. We are now going back to the debate. We are, yes. No, I'm not letting him have an audience because he knows we are resuming the debate. Honorable member, I'm giving you the first warning, honorable member. You cannot continue to speak when I have asked you to sit down. I am resuming debate, and if you want to contribute to the budget debate, please press the card, or you stand up on a point of order and quote the standing order on which you're raising your point of order. It's as simple as that. So what is your point of order? Standing order? Number?
Madam Speaker, I beg you to exercise fairness to me.
It is not fair. I'm not being unfair. I'm just asking you to be procedural.
I'm a representative of Nyando constituency, and I have to really point out their interest in this House. That is why they brought me
upon which you are
Madam Speaker, I needed your direction.
What's your point of order?
I needed your direction.
What's your point of order?
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. I needed your direction on a matter. Whereas the flooding situation is over, the devastating effects are still with our people on the ground. Some people are still holding evacuation
Okay, Honorable
camps.
Member, you know that if you want to raise that, you can raise it as a statement, and you have an opportunity tomorrow morning during our sitting
I needed your direction.
on the order paper. Please let us proceed, Honorable Member, and if he continues to speak, I take away his mic, and you can actually, you're free to leave the
Madam,
place.
you're harassing me.
I'm not harassing you. You are, in fact, being extremely disrespectful. I won't engage with you. Any members of chairpersons of various committee? Vice Chair Labour, are you here? Vice Chair Labour? Honorable Kawanjiku, I know you're in the Budget Committee. Any other Vice Chairperson? Okay, Honorable Makali, you can contribute.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, before I even contribute, I wanted to ask for your intervention on a matter. I'm the Vice Chair Public Debt and Privatization Committee, and as a committee, we also did a report on the CFS expenditure, which is part of the budget.
Yes.
I don't know at what point, because we even tabled a report. I don't know at what point will that report be debated, because it is part of what we are discussing. But having said that,
I think I can allow you, since we are giving chairpersons opportunity. I know
Yes.
you're not a chairperson of a departmental committee, but
Yes.
I'll give you an opportunity. So you can proceed and
so maybe
make your contribution.
Yeah, I can make my contribution, and since that report, I know what it was in the report. Maybe let me start with that point, Honorable Chair, as part of my contribution to the budget estimates. Honorable members, if you look at the estimates, the budgeted amount for consolidated fund expenditures is 1.88 trillion. That's the money we are supposed to spend to take care of expenditures relating to consolidated fund services. Out of that money, the country will be spending about 1.08 trillion to pay interest rates. And it will be spending an additional about 700 billion, to pay for debts which we've already taken. That's the repayment of debts.
Yes, just one moment, Honorable Makali. Yes. I just wanted to remind members, because I think many members don't seem to know this, we have a sitting tomorrow morning at 9:30, a special sitting for those who are not here in the morning. It's mission critical, because we have to complete the budget process tomorrow. So kindly, and we'll be sitting until 9 p.m. tonight.
So
Thank you.
What I'm saying, Honorable Chair, is that this information is very important in relation to what we are discussing. Why am I saying it is important? If you look at the projected revenue collection, which is about 2.9 trillion, and you look at the money going to be used for consolidated fund services expenditure, 1.88 trillion, it's more than about 70% of the money we are going to collect will go to payment of debts. If you look at the interest rate being paid, which is 1.08 trillion, it is about 34% of the revenue going to be collected. So that the money we are going to collect, for every about 100 shillings we collect, 34 will be payment of interest. And I remember, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, sir, when the Chair Budget Committee was making his presentation, he did indicate that part of that money will be paid to Kenyans. Out of 1 trillion, about 700 billion will be paid to Kenyans. Even though it's a good item, Honorable Speaker, in terms of Kenyans getting that money, but if you look at the totality of the budget, what we are saying is, with this kind of payments out of our projected revenue collection, we have very little room, what we call the fiscal space, to do other things like development and meet our recurrent expenditure. So, honorable members, even as we discuss this budget, it is important we realize that we have the elephant in the room is actually matters public debt. Because out of the total CFS expenditures, over 90% will go to payment of public debt. So it means if we manage issues of public debt properly, then we could be able to save resources for other activities. And in the morning, I did mention that if you look at the budget, the supplementary budget, we have reduced a lot of the money in the development fund, which means our development budget is being reduced year in, year out. And if you cannot develop, if you cannot implement development projects, then automatically you'll have challenges growing the economy. That's one point. The other thing I want to comment on, Honorable Speaker, sir, is the issue of the JSS intern teachers. I want to say, honorable members, it is good that we have allocated resources so that all the 46,000 intern teachers are employed permanently and pensionable. This is important because, as you are aware, our JSS is facing serious challenges in terms of teachers, in terms of infrastructure. So when we allocate money to employ teachers on permanent and pensionable basis, we actually assist in the country because the teachers now will be able to settle and start teaching without any problem. The other matter which is important, Honorable Speaker, is the matter of the resources allocated for floods, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, the chair did mention that we have made provision to take care of floods. This country has suffered serious consequences as a result of floods. The roads are, the infrastructure generally, roads, school classrooms, and all different kinds of infrastructure has been destroyed, Honorable Speaker. And it is important that now we have resources to repair some of this infrastructure. Otherwise, the country will not be able to move because, for example, when roads are not properly done, then you cannot move products to the market. And these are important economic activities. The other matter, Honorable Speaker, which is important in the budget, is the issue of the political parties fund, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the report, it indicates that this year, the coming year, 24-25, political parties will be getting a total of 1.5 billion in terms of allocation to that fund. But, Honorable Speaker, it's also worth noting that this year, we had allocated 1.47 billion for that fund, which was reduced in supplementary one to about 600, reduction of over 800 million. So my plea would be that the money we have allocated for political parties, the coming financial year, Honorable Speaker, will not now be reduced during the supplementary estimates, so that at the end of the day, we are able to fund these political parties as required in the Constitution, because this is the only way we can grow our democracy, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the other matter which I want to raise is the issue of, we have been budgeting as a House every year, but the issue is, how are we performing matters budget implementation, Honorable Speaker? Because, Honorable Speaker, it is not enough just to have the budget in our books. It is sufficient to have the budget implemented, so that once you have it in the books, we implement it, and as a result of that, then Kenyans can benefit out of the services and goods which will come as a result of implementing the budget. There we are having a serious challenge, Honorable Speaker, when it comes to budget implementation. And the main cause to that, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of the exchequer releases. You find that the money is in the books, but we are not able to provide exchequer releases to the MDAs. And on the basis of that, then, we have challenges implementing. And that's why you find that towards the end of the year, just as we did this morning, we are able to reduce the figures downwards to be accommodated within the budget, because we have not managed to raise enough revenue to fund the budget. And this is what I want to say. I want to agree with those who are saying, Honorable Speaker, that as Treasury is doing revenue projections, they need to be as realistic as possible. And I think what they need to do is, Honorable Speaker, to look critically at the assumptions they are making. Because when I look at it, I think that the assumptions being made when we are making our budgets are not being looked at critically, so that we don't live, because it looks like we are just making assumptions for the sake of it, knowing very well, Honorable Speaker, we might not be able to achieve that. And if we don't achieve it, then we don't achieve the ambitious revenue projections. And that's why I'm also supporting the idea of adding resources to KRA, so that KRA is facilitated to collect all the taxes which are already approved by this House. And in that case, then we'll be able to fund our budget, Honorable Speaker. The other matter which is critical as we move to the future, Honorable Speaker, is issues of equity in the budget making. That, Honorable Speaker, I remember in the morning, there was an issue of the roads, where the majority leader was complaining that the MP for Yatta had actually raised a matter which was not true. And I think the issue is, Honorable Speaker, is how equitable is this budget in terms of where we are funding projects. I think we need to ensure as a House, we need to ensure that we are able to share this budget equitably and all regions of the country are well represented, Honorable Speaker. On that basis, Honorable Speaker, then we'll be able to be helping this country in matters budget. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, if it's a matter of just passing budget for the sake of passing it, without looking at issues of equity, then I can tell you for sure, some parts of this country will remain marginalized for the rest of the, till Jesus comes back to this world, Honorable Speaker. So it is important, members, we look at equity issues. The other thing we need to look at, as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of gender sensitivity to budget making, so that we don't make a budget which is not neutral to issues of gender. We need to make sure that as we make a budget, we also mainstream issues of gender, so that the budget we make takes care of both sexes. In that case, we don't have one of the sides of the...
Honorable members, I think we shall be able to accommodate as many members as possible. If, although you are entitled to 10 minutes, you take as little as 5 or 3 minutes. I'm not telling you have the option to do that and take all the 10 minutes, but I think you will accommodate, we shall be in a position to accommodate many members of parliament on this very important debate on the budget. The Honorable Rasso Dido. Let's give him the mic.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I stand to support this budget, and I want to congratulate the formidable chair of the Budget and Appropriation Committee and the committee members. Honorable Speaker, this is the largest committee members in one committee. And for that reason, I think their purview of what they do or what is there in the budget in terms of equity, in terms of the spread of the budget, in terms of budget coverage, must be the best, and they must be on the spot in what they are doing. Honorable Speaker, I want to first start with the issue of security. Security is the anchor around which a government or a state exists. It is that instrument that allows the development within a country, because in the absence of security, then a lot of these good things we talk about will not be there. In this, I'm talking about the National Police Service, the Kenya Defense Forces, the Correctional Service, and the national government administrative officers in the field. These people perform the best for us. For this House to be able to sit today in the afternoon to discuss the budget is because this country is secure. For us to be on the roads, in the schools, in many places doing development or chores in our homes is because there is security. For that reason, we must continuously improve in their working environment, in their welfare and motivation to do the best in wherever they are working. Through modernization, that they must have the best equipment to be able to carry out their duties. In this, I'm talking about mobility, that there must be enough vehicles, enough protective vehicles, such as the APCs, and also firepower and force protection, that the individual that we send out in the field, that policeman who is chasing robbers down the alley, must be protected enough for him or her to feel secure. Honorable Speaker, in this, it is paramount that we must continuously build the human capacity of all these institutions so that the best are out there to serve this country when we are doing other things. Honorable Speaker, we must also invest in technology so that Kenya and Kenyans see that we are moving beyond the 21st century, because the world is about technology. It is through technology that we use what you call economy of effort, that we are using a few policemen when we can use hundreds, a few boots on the ground in KDF when we have 1 or 2 aircraft, or sophisticated equipment that reduces the dependence on manpower. Honorable Speaker, education is the single most equalizer. Honorable Mreu raised a very pertinent issue of feeding in the schools. I think in ASAL, those of us from the ASAL, if there's no feeding program, then majority of our learners will not be able to attend the school. And if we are going to say, let us spread that across the country, it is a welcome thing. But for us to say, let us share what is there, it simply means you are going to disadvantage those who are already so much disadvantaged that this is the basic thing that they get to be able to go to school. And as members from the ASAL or the pastoralist, we are not going to say that the children in Muranga or Gatanga, for that matter, are not qualified to be entitled to this. But we are saying, let it come at the right time. Because the issue of NACONEC, many members before us really fought to have NACONEC in place. And as we sit here today, NACONEC is still not at the right place we want, because it is not well funded, it is not well focused, and there are too many interests that are still pulling NACONEC down. Because we have said NACONEC must have a council that is able to focus its activities. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, I see the issue of continuity, the issue of collaboration, and the issue of saving. For the first time, our budget has come down from 3 trillion or 4 trillion to just 2.3 trillion. This is indicative that let us cut our cloth according to our size, because we cannot spend money that we do not have. If you are going to raise the budget ceiling to 3 trillion or 4 trillion, it means we are going to tax Kenyans to the bone. Already Kenyans are talking about taxation. But for this particular instance, I want to thank the government, the president for that matter, for making sure that we don't spend or we look for money that we do not have. On the same, what is indicative of this is that we are going to spend our money. We are not going to borrow for the budget. The problem today is this country is heavily burdened. Most of our money goes to paying debts. How long are we going to pay debts? And yet we are growing our budget when the economy does not have that capacity to achieve that. Honorable Speaker, the idea of grassroots development, bottom-up economic development, when you are going to put more money in CDF, when you are going to put more money in electricity, in rural infrastructure in Kera, it means that we are looking at those areas, those enclaves that are normally disadvantaged or nobody is looking at them. So for that reason, I think as members of this House, particularly as members of single constituency, I think the onus is on us for prudent use of those resources at the grassroots. Honorable Speaker, in youth affairs and creative economy, I think this is the elephant in the room. A country that has 60% of its population, or going to 70%, that they are youth. Then we must look at it in an economic sense. What do we do with youth? What amount of resources should we put in that energy? Yes, most of the youth are in education, but there's majority that is not in education. Those that are out there who are hustling. During this budget, we are looking at youth empowerment services, youth development services. In context, looking at what resources has been put there, I think we must scratch our heads to say that, can we put more in youth so that they are able to be productive? Because 60% of our population is really not a joke. Honorable Speaker, finally, I want to talk about the livestock economy. Livestock contributes 8% to the GDP. And until this government, not much has been talked about livestock. And yet, 2/3 or 3/4 of this country is livestock producing area. So with those remarks, I beg to support.
The Honorable Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am indeed immensely impressed with the budget because it has cut across every sector that is touching all Kenyans' lives. Looking into various departments, I have seen like devolved function, the county level. If all that has been channeled there will actually work, every county will have or must have a running industry or factory. If we have that, the jobless youths that are 60% of this nation will be doing something for their livelihood, and that will improve the standards of living of this nation. Looking at the health, agriculture, I'm saying markets, roads, electricity, education. For example, if the markets will start being put in places where there is no electricity, then it should go like a complementary. When the markets are being installed or constructed, then electricity must be installed in the same area, running water at the same time, and toilets, because most markets in the rural areas, they suffer lacking these basic needs. Like after 6, everybody has to go, or they use lamps or candles to continue selling their products. On the agriculture side, I think this time they have thought well. I'm hoping that we'll have even extension officers at the grassroots so that we don't have a problem like what we have witnessed this year, which has never happened since independence, of these issues of fake fertilizer and other miscalculated moves. I have also looked into the roads. The budget is good, but I hope that some MPs will not be living for the estimate of others when it comes to sharing. Let us not hear that other MPs were allocated more roads than others. I hope equality and equity will be in play, and Kenya will continue growing together, because if we only have cities or towns that attract and not the rural areas, then it means that we will have other areas congested, and yet we should be thinking of decongesting the cities or towns. So I just wanted to congratulate the Budget Committee and every other person who participated, including the wananchi themselves, because public participation was done. And my prayer is every dime, every shilling that will be given, may it do what it's supposed to do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Khair Harun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to submit some of my comments towards the ongoing debate on the floor, which is budget estimates of this financial year. And I've been keen to see some areas that have been prioritized, which I highly support. But I would like to also submit a few comments so that maybe we can also guide the budgets better before we pass this to be effective. The first issue of concern to me is immunization, which has a budget cut from 9.4 billion to 7.4. And this is a crucial matter to every Kenyan in this country, because as a young mother, I took my child for vaccinations just last week. And Mr. Speaker, I had to visit 3 hospitals, private clinics, before I could get vaccinations for my child, who's just 3 months. And I could imagine what other mothers in rural areas and some remote areas are facing, because every government facility must provide free vaccinations for every mother. This is a maternal care issue. But if such a crucial department is considered to have a budget cut, then we are going against the fundamental issues of being humane, and we are not really considering the people that we represent. So that is of concern to me. Number 2 is the Linda Mama program, which has also been supporting mothers across the country, which is also facing a budget cut. The critical issues that we cannot touch on, anything to do with health, our children, the future of our children, vaccinations. We are going back 10 years, 20 years as a country if we are not giving vaccinations to children, because polio has been a big campaign. Ever since I was born, I've been hearing kick polio out of Kenya. But if children are not getting polio vaccines, because I couldn't get rotavirus vaccine for my child, and I am privileged enough to access private health care. But these are mothers who cannot get this. So for me, this is not an issue that I can sit and watch. I have to address this, and I would definitely count on the support of every member, because this is a matter that touches on all of us. As a youth representative of this House as well, the youth fund has also been removed. We are telling young Kenyans to come and get employment, Finya computer programs, but we are not allocating funds for them to get support. So I understand this is something that we have to address. The youth fund must be supported so that young Kenyans can get more jobs and can continue supporting the gig and the creative economy. Another issue is also the internet taxes that we've seen, because every Kenyan is able to buy data from wherever they are. We have the Jitume program, which is something that even our committee, the ICT committee that I sit, is campaigning big on. And this is a presidential agenda that we want to support. But if internet faces more taxation, Kenyans will not be able to even buy the data or afford this data so that they're able to get online employment or the digital programs, the gig economy, and all these things that we keep talking about. We have to put money where our mouth is. And finally, there is an 85 billion reduction that we've been hearing, but where is this money being reduced from? It's being reduced from health, education, agriculture, critical issues that support that are the backbone of our country. So if money has to be reduced, let it come from elsewhere. Let us save from elsewhere. But money is on education, money is on health, money is on environment. Should not be touched on, because we even need to put more money there, not remove it. So these are my general comments. Of course, we will be able to support it with amendments, but those are the pointers that I would have wanted to raise. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
The Honorable Kawanjuku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take this opportunity also to support the Budget and Appropriation Committee for doing a good job, and more so to the Chair Budget, Honorable Dendi Nyoro. I'm also a member of the Budget Committee, and I know how tiresome it was to make sure that we have aligned things as per the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, this budget has been a good budget because we look at a number of issues that probably affect the common mwananchi, the people from different parts of our country. We tried as much as we can to balance and make sure that there is equity in terms of distribution of the national resources, of what we have as a country and what we have as a government. Mr. Speaker, we understand that there were rumors that we had removed money from the food feeding program for our primary and day school students. And Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm to this House that we return that money that is supposed to support our children, our public primary schools, especially from the areas that are affected by drought. And we are able to retain that money. And we are also pleading with this committee and with this House that we need to keep enhancing the budget of food feeding program. I have tried it in my constituency using a different model, and it is really working. We are able to retain many students, many children in school, especially on our public primary school. And we understand the poverty index in these areas, and therefore it was prudent for us to make sure that we enhance that budget, probably to a tune of about 5 billion shillings, as Mheshimiwa Murray was suggesting, that even not only to cover on areas of ASAL, but also to cover on even other areas that probably will go to all across the country, all schools across our country, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, in the next budget, I'm going to be very keen to support and enhance that budget so that we make sure, and we separate from the ministry and to the department that is supposed to be doing that, and make sure that we finance them, to make sure that we appropriate money to the NACONEC and give them an enough budget to enhance and make sure that they distribute this feeding program to all our day schools, because it will help us to retain a number of our schools, of our students in schools, Mr. Speaker.
Nilianza kuendesha boda miaka michache iliyopita ili kuhudumia familia yangu. Sio kazi rahisi, lakini inaweka chakula mezani. Wakati huo nilifikiria siwezi kushindwa. Ningeendesha boda kwa kasi, kukwepa na kuvuka barabara ovyo ovyo. Ningefanya chochote ili kufika napokwenda haraka. Lakini siku moja nilikuwa hospitalini kwa miezi 3. Kosa moja karibu liondoe kila kitu. Mwaka moja baada ya kutoka hospitalini, nilihudhuria mafunzo ya jinsi ya kuendesha boda kwa usalama.
Boda ni life, lakini life si kitu bila usalama. Zingatia kanuni za trafiki. Hakikisha unavaa helmet na reflector jacket wakati wote.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
Watch the Mozartbet Cup as teams from both the top tier and lower tier battle for the ultimate prize of representing the country in Africa's CAF Confederations Cup. Catch all the action live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, beginning with a round of 16 matches, the quarter-final, semi-final, and the final. Mozartbet Cup, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Kiongozi wetu sasa ana nafuu. Tusikubali roho mbaya, tabia mbaya na nia mbaya kuchukua nafasi mbele yetu.
Kaa karibu na babako wakati wote. Mimi nitafanya vovote ilivyo. Yaani nitahakikisha mwanamke anayetetemesha hii funzi nuru ni moe mimi.
Hii pete inamaagiza ichunge.
Madhara, umesikia? Mimi sina baba.